Innovative di Hatiku represents a slogan that focuses on prioritizing community and future students, especially from the B40 groups. The spirit that arises from this slogan is to continue the effort to always give and help the community and prospective students in need. This slogan should remain a principle in every innovative citizen, so that this slogan is spoken in every community throughout the state in Malaysia, and make innovative as the main option to pursue higher education.
Inovatif di hatiku. Inovatif di hatiku.
Innovatif di hatiku.
Inovatif di hatiku.
Innovative di Hatiku.
Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It's me again, Bukhori, Vice President of Innovative International College. And you are here with me in Innovative Business Channel, IBC. We are on air every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Alright, so for today, the topic given to me is tipping point leadership. Okay, this is again a part of the series of Blue Ocean Strategy. So for the past few weeks, we have discussed lots of ways, strategies, and tools that you can use to pivot into a new business model or improvise your existing business model to cater for the challenges brought up by the COVID-19 pandemic. And along with all the strategies and tools, there is an action that needs to be taken, and also there will be changes needs to be made to your organization. Right, so understandably, making changes is not an easy task. So for those of you who is actually in leadership position, and you need to make some changes to your organization to remain relevant during this COVID-19 pandemic. So today we would like to talk about a few strategies or ways that you can utilize to affect changes in your organization. Okay, so that is the topic for today, which is the tipping point leadership. Okay, there is two most important part in this topic today. Number one, the tipping point, and number two, leadership. All right, so where is the tipping point leadership came from? So actually, the tipping point is a theory actually. Yeah, it is popularized by, if I can spell his name correctly, by a sociologist named Morton Grodzins. Yeah, and this tipping point basically adapted from physics, referred to adding the small amount of weight to a balanced object until the additional weight caused the object to suddenly and completely topple or tip. Okay, so imagine, okay, this is a balanced object, all right. Okay, let's find. Okay, this is the balance point. So if we put enough weight, okay, at either side of this balanced object, it doesn't require the entire weight of this object to make it topple or tip. All right, so that is the definition of the theory of a tipping point. All right, so how is tipping point connected to leadership? So apparently, if you look at the issues that we're having now, for example, the COVID-19 pandemic, yeah. So let's say if there is one person is infected with the COVID-19 virus, right? It still did not have the ability to cause a pandemic and infected the rest of the world, right? Because he is just one person. Okay, given enough time, I mean, if the disease or the virus work fast enough to make sure that, let's say, within 1 or 2 to 3 days, this person can infect others, all right, then there will be 2 persons in the same location. If this 2 person is infected, then those people who are connected to this 2 person will have the chances of infections as well. But what if the virus take a longer time to infect others? I mean, this person will get sick first, you know, and he will have all the criteria like a fever, like a headache, for example. Then 2 to 3 days later, then he become infectious. If this is the case, that means the doctor might be able to catch the disease first before it being spread to other people. It cannot cause a pandemic. But why this virus caused a pandemic? Because it has infected very fast. That's number one. But number two, the amount of people infected by this virus has come to the point that the authority has failed, is unable to contain it. Okay, then it's been spreaded all over the world, you know. So that is what happening. So that means the virus needs to infected enough number of people to the point that the protocol or the SOP set by the government to contain such infections or outbreak, it failed to contain it. Okay, so that is what it means by the tipping point. So we no need to infect the virus, no need to infect the entire population of the earth. Just the virus needs to do is to infect in the location which is dense enough and spread fast enough to make the government response fail to contain the virus, and hence we have the outbreak. Okay, so this is something that can be done or can be seen also in the management as well. So in order for us to change an organization, we no need to change the entire organization. This is what in Harvard Business Review. So in article, this was published somewhere in April 2003. The title is the same title as what we discussed today, Tipping Point Leadership. And the article is making an example of the New York City Police Department with a 2 billion budget yearly and 35,000 police officer. And at that time, they are facing difficulties in preventing crime. Yeah. So at that time, the public opinion on the police department was very, very low, and the crime rate has increased significantly. All right. So what happened is, somewhere between 1994 to 1996, there's a new police chief been brought in to the New York Police Department. His name is Brighton. Yeah, Brighton. So what he did is that in less than 2 years, or about 2 years, yeah, he managed to turn around the entire New York Police Department to the point where before he came into office, the public opinion of the police department is somewhere around 35%, and within just 2 years, he managed to increase positive public opinion to the local police department to more than 70%. So basically, this article written by or published by Harvard Business Review is telling a story on how he do the turnaround. Okay, so how he changed the New York Police Department. So there are 4 things that we can before we wanted to do, or any leader wants to do changes in the organization. So the leader will face with these 4 challenges. So this is what has been described by Bratton in his quest to turn around the New York Police Department in 1994. So the first is the cognitive hurdle. Cognitive hurdle means that, when a leader say A, it doesn't mean that the audience will receive A. So of course, a lot of us think that it is easy to speak. When we have the power, we have the authority, we just say it and people will do. But that is not the case actually in most of the situation. If you look at any organization, we hire an employee to do a certain thing, and when we ask them to do, so we thought that we already give them a complete instruction, a perfect instruction, but what the audience receive is always very, very different. Okay, so this is what is called cognitive hurdle. Number two is the political hurdle. Of course, when we wanted to create changes, the changes will have impact on the stakeholder. It will have impact on our competitor. It will impact on our business partner. So there is a political hurdle that we need to navigate to make sure that the change can be affected. And number 4 is the resources hurdle. So this is something that we always identify, the number one that we always identify as a leader, we always say this to ourselves. Yeah, it's not that I can make the change, I cannot make the changes, but I do not have the resource to make that changes. For example, let's say you are currently managing an educational institution, and once the pandemic strike, you need to do an online class, to make sure that you can ensure your delivery of education to your customer is remain unchanged, or at least your delivery is not affected. But to make that changes, the first thing that always come to the managers is, do I have resource to do that? Do I have the money to purchase the learning management system software? Do I have the resource, the human resource, the knowledge, the talent to manage such system? Do I have the people to develop or maintain the system? So this is something that always comes, the first thing that comes to mind when we need to do the changes. And the last one, and always been neglected by us as a leader, is the motivational hurdle. We understand clearly why the changes needs to be done, but does our people, does our employee, or our staff, or our subordinates have the same motivation with us? All right. So these are the 4 hurdles, according to Harvard Business Review, that this Chief Police Officer, Bratton, facing in order to turn around the New York Police Department. All right. Okay. So why Harvard Business Review created this article? Because the similar issues also faced by organization, also faced by leaders like us, in order to change the organization. These are the 4 issues. First is the cognitive hurdle, how we translate, how we communicate, how we transfer our knowledge, our direction, our motivation to the next, or to the audience, for them to follow our direction or objective. Number 2, the resources hurdle. Number 3, motivation. Why our people needs to do this, needs to change, and change is not easy, and in most situations change is not welcome. And the last one is the political hurdle. So let's see how Bratton managed to solve the cognitive hurdle. Okay. In a bigger organization, so for example, this New York Police Department, there are 35,000 police officers, and definitely one person, okay, cannot change the entire 35,000 officers in just 2 years. But in any organization, in order to manage 35,000 people inside, there will be an organization structure. There will be a leadership involved in that organization. For example, if we are the CEO, of course, below us there will be a line of top management or seniors manager, and there will be a junior manager below, and then there will be more people, their subordinates. So, in order for the message of change to be delivered and accepted or received by the entire organization, the member of the organization, it has first to be communicated or understood by their senior leadership. So in the New York Police Department in 1994, So normally the senior managers or the senior officer only get the feedback from the public from the report that they read. So they didn't actually feel the issues that the public is facing. So one of the things that Breton did is to ask all the top management in the police department not to use car to come to office, but instead use public transport. Okay, it is because Breton want his first or his senior or his top management to feel exactly what is the issue faced by the public, not by reading report, but by actually feel it and face it themselves. Okay, so after a while, riding train to office, then they realize that it is not about solving the biggest crime. It is not about the statistic. So what the public worries the most, is the crowded people in the subway station. They feel unsafe. There are hotspots. There are crime hotspot in the area. So there are petty crimes. So their issues is not necessarily be drug issues or the killer or the serial killer and so on, but everyday crimes, all the petty crimes also worried the public, which is not properly reflected in the report. So after understanding this issue by themselves, they feel it. They feel what is the public's is worried about. Then the managers themselves can improve their way of making decision. Okay. So similarly in our organization, so if we are a very medium-sized or large organization, so I believe there will be a finance manager, operation manager, marketing manager, and below them there are armies of subordinate, and they always make a decision based on reports given to them. So it is very important for all these senior officer to go down and face the issues themselves in order to effect changes. Okay, for example, if I am a marketing manager, maybe once in a while, I should take the phone call and call my customer directly, or make a cold call, or make a telemarketing together with my telemarketing staff to feel what is exactly the issues that they are facing. What is the complaints about the product? Learn it ourselves. Maybe they have called 200 numbers, but only one is responding. Maybe then we will realize that the data is not that accurate. So, or maybe then we will realize that there are certain processes that can be improved. For another example, if we were marketing manager, we look at the statistics shown from online marketing campaign, Facebook ads, for example, and we always see what is the cost per data, right? So maybe we should go deeper and create the Facebook advertisement campaign ourselves to at least feel the process, feels why our cost per data is very high, and then maybe by then we will realize that our parameter, our focus customer is wrong. Probably we never know that until we do it ourselves. So as Breton suggests, it is very good in order to affect these changes in the organization. It is very good for the senior management to go down and experience it ourselves face the customer, face the environment, face the stakeholder, face the society, so that we can feel and so that that feeling or that exposure and that experience can improve our way of making decisions. So that is number one, right? So the resources hurdle. Okay, I don't have the time to go all the four challenges, which is cognitive, resource, motivation, and political. But I would like to touch the two most important one is the cognitive and resources. So a lot of people say I cannot make changes because I do not have the right resources. Yeah. But it is wrong. It's not about the resources. Yeah. Even with the same resources that the New York Police Department have, Britain can still make the changes, very effective changes in less than 2 years. How? It is about reallocating the resources to the most critical using data-driven analysis. Okay, for example, if we look at the New York, it's a very big city, and of course, if we spread the 35,000 officers across the city, some officer will find themselves to work harder than the other officer because the crime hotspot is different. The crime is not evenly spread out throughout the city. That is what we call a crime hotspot. So what Britain did is to study the data and identify this hotspot, yeah, and from there target all his resources to that particular hotspots. Okay, for example, in my case, yeah, I run a private higher educational institute. So we have a budget for social media marketing. So should we target the audience of our social media marketing from 18 to 55 years old, or I should target my target customer only? Because by targeting from 18 to 55-year-old, I may have more than 10 millions of audience. But all this audience may not be my customer because I am selling a diploma. And normally in Malaysia, a diploma is targeted to SPM level 90% of the time. So if my resource is limited, if I can narrow down my resource only to those SPM level only, which is between 17-year-old and 18-year-old, I will find that my potential number of Facebook user is less than 1 million, right? So now I can make, with the same budget that I have, if I target such student, then I can have a better result, right? So that is about, utilizing the existing resources, but we need to target based on what? Based on data. All right. So that is what we call tipping point leadership. Yeah. So what is the outcome? What is the objective, yeah, of all this? So at the end of the day, what we wanted to do is to change the organization, but we do not need to change everybody, yeah, or we ourselves to go down and face all our employee, yeah, to make sure that they change. We only need to do is to press a certain point, part of the organization, in order for us to effect the bigger changes. Meaning that we can use the existing what we call the existing resources, or maybe less than the existing resources, or we may not need to use resources at all just to make the changes. All right. So this is what we call the tipping point leadership. Leadership, because you look at this is a balanced object, yeah. So in order to tip this object, we no need the full weight of this object. We just need to put a little bit of weight here, then the object can be tipped. Similarly, you look at this an organization. So we no need the full weight of the organization to change. We just need to press a little button here and there, yeah, heavy enough just to tip the organization. Alright, so this is all which I wanted to share in this session. Thank you very much for staying with me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Saya Cik Am, Senior Counselor, Inovatif di Hatiku.
Hai, saya Aiza, Inovatif di Hatiku.
Saya Yahurin Muhammad Yasin, Inovatif di Hatiku.
Hai, nama saya Kana, Inovatif di Hatiku. Saya Aini, Inovatif di Hatiku.
Saya Arisha, Inovatif di Hatiku.
Hai, saya Ain, Inovatif di Hatiku.
Saya Wanu Fazira, Inovatif di Hatiku.
Saya Nurfahana binti Zul, Inovatif di Hatiku. Saya Asma Amanina, Inovatif di Hatiku.
Hai, saya Hamka, Inovatif di Hatiku.
Saya Muhammad Helmi bin Abdul Rahman, Inovatif di Hatiku.
Nama saya Nurul Al-Akila, penolong pendaftar Kolej Inovatif Antarabangsa, Inovatif di Hatiku.
Hai, nama saya Muhammad Faiz bin Abdul Razak, Inovatif di Hatiku.
Saya Abdul Rahman bin Kasbi, pendaftar Kolej Antarabangsa Inovatif. Inovatif di Hatiku.